Today we're going to solve systems of equations by substitution. Yesterday we solved systems by graphing, and that's one way to solve a system of equations. The other method is by substitution, which is what we're going to do today, and by elimination, which we will talk about tomorrow. Substitution just means replacing one variable, which in our case is either x or y, replacing that variable with an equivalent expression containing the other variable. So that just means taking out x and replacing it with an expression that contains y, or taking out y and replacing it with an expression that contains x. So sometimes a system of equations is indicated by the use of a bracket, like these brackets here, or sometimes they just tell you that it's a system of equations. So we're going to take a look at the substitution method with this system right here, which is y equals 2x minus 4, and y equals negative 3x plus 1. So I know that y is equal to y. So I'm going to take 2x minus 4 out and replace y with that. And then I'm going to take 3x, negative 3x minus or plus 1 and replace y with that. And since y is equal to y, then 2x minus 4 has to be equal to negative 3x plus 1. And then I'm just going to solve for x. I'm going to add 4 here and add 4 here, and I get 2x, they cancel, equals negative 3x plus 5. We'll bring the rest up here. So 2x equals negative 3x plus 5. I add 3x to each side, and I get 5x equals 5. Solve for x, and x equals 1. So my solution so far is x equals 1. So how do I find the value for y? Well, I just take out x in either of these two equations, and I plug in y. So I'm going to do it in the first equation. I'm going to take out x, and I'm going to plug in 1. And I get 2 times 1 minus 4. And what I end up getting, and I'll write it off to the side, is y equals negative 2. So my solution to this system of equations is x equals 1 and y equals negative 2. And you can check to see if that works. Plug in 1 for x and negative 2 for y in both equations and see if you get a true answer. So sometimes the equations are not written so that x or y is by itself, so you need to translate or transform the equation into a y equals. And substitution does not mean that all equations need to be written as y equals or x equals. It just means that an expression is being replaced for one that is equivalent. So example, in this system right here, we don't have an x equals or a y equals, but we need to change it into y equals 3x minus 5 so we can use substitution. So in the next example, 2x plus y equals negative 1 and x minus 2y equals 12, we're just looking to see which equation is easier to turn it into y equals or x equals. And it can be either one. You could change this one into y equals negative 2x minus 1, or you could change this one into x equals 2y plus 12. Doesn't matter which one you use. I think I'm going to use this one right here because then I don't have to deal with any negatives. So I'm not going to use this one. So I'm going to take out x in either equation, and I'm going to replace it with 2y plus 12. So I'm going to use the first equation. I'm going to take out x, and I'm going to replace it with 2y plus 12 plus the rest of the equation, which is y, and then equals negative 1. When I distribute that 2, I get 4y plus 24 plus y equals negative 1. If I combine like terms, I get 5y plus 24 equals negative 1. I'm going to finish the equation up here. Subtract 24 from each side. I get 5y equals negative 25. Divide by 5, and I get y equals 5. So now I need to figure out, okay, well, if I know y is 5, what is x? And again, I'm going to stick with this equation up here, 2x plus y minus 1, and I'm going to take out y, and I'm going to plug it in that equation. So the equation that I'm using is 2x plus y equals negative 1. I'm going to take out y, and I'm going to replace it with negative 5. So 2x plus negative 5 equals negative 1. And we're going to add 5 to each side. So what we get left with is 2x equals 4. Divide each side by 2, and we get x equals 2. So there's our solution. Our solution to this system of equations is x equals 2 and y equals negative 5. And again, if you wanted to check, go back to your original equations over here, and for x you can plug in 2, and for y you can plug in negative 5 and see if it works. I wanted to go over one more example from the solving systems of substitution notes, and this was the example on your notes, 3x minus y equals 5 and 2x plus 5y equals negative 8. So I want to solve either of these for either x or y, and I think this equation here is the easiest to do because y is pretty much by itself, has a negative in front. So if I subtract 3x from each side, I get negative y equals negative 3x plus 5. I want y to be positive, so divide each side by negative 1, and I get y equals 3x minus 5. Now I have my y equals, and I can substitute 3x minus 5 in for y in either of these equations. I'm going to use this equation because I transformed the other one. Either equation would work. So I'm going to leave 2x alone, take out y, and substitute 3x minus 5, and that equals negative 8. So I want to distribute and then combine like terms. 2x plus 15x minus 25 equals negative 8. Combine like terms, and I get 17x minus 25 equals negative 8. Add 25 to each side, and I get 17x equals 17. Divide by 17, and I get x equals 1. Now I want to take x equals 1 and plug it back into one of the original equations, not the one that I transformed, to figure out what y is equal to. And I'm going to choose this one right here. So to solve for y, I'm going to take out x, plug in 1, 3 times 1 minus y equals 5. That gives me 3 minus y equals 5. Negative y equals 2, and so y equals 2. Negative 2, sorry. So the solution to my systems of equations is x equals 1 and y equals negative 2. Okay, now it's your turn to show what you've learned. So again, in Google Classroom, for today's topic, solving systems of equations by substitution, there's a Google form. Answer question 1. It's a multiple choice question. And then in question 2 is free response. And again, when you're recording your answer or your solution to this systems of equations, please enter it with parentheses, your x value, comma, your y value, and close parentheses. And that will be your solution to number 2.